Welcome back, everyone. We are back with obviously one of my favorite appraisers, Chris. Mainly because he's educating us out here. He's letting us know exactly what it is that we need to know throughout the process. And today we're going to be going over some pros and cons of getting an appraisal. Now I know you may be thinking like, why is this man going to be talking about the cons of what he does? But at the end of the day, we're just keeping it real with you guys. So yeah, let's hop right into it. If we can, tell us a couple pros. We'll kind of touch on maybe go into depth on a couple of them, but tell us a couple pros about getting an appraisal. I believe in them personally as a realtor. I love for my clients to be protected, in my opinion. But yeah, let's go over a couple.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's important for you to understand as a home buyer, in that circumstance, you want to make sure you're not overpaying for your house, number one.
Yep.
And one truth I can tell you is every person that's ever sold a house thought it was the best house in the entire world. And the same people that are buying another house think that another house is the worst house ever.
Yep.
And the truth is in the middle, because people raise families and houses and they have an emotional attachment to them. Mm-hmm. And the people coming in haven't done that yet, so there's no emotion there, it's just strictly a financial transaction. And then they're looking at it like, well, I hate green walls, so I'm gonna have to redo this. So it's good to have a third party that's neutral and unbiased to walk in and kind of tell them, hey, this is what the market says about your house.
Yeah.
And this is what would be typical, that knowing exactly that you're not, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
So $5,000 might not be a lot of money in terms of a financial transit.
Yeah.
But do you want to give me $5,000 right now?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Not just
because that's a lot of real money, so you
Yeah.
want to make sure you're protected to do that,
Absolutely.
The peace of mind, just the peace of mind of knowing it,
Yep.
what you're doing is right. The other thing, like you mentioned, is to protect yourself.
Yep.
So what happens if all of a sudden you buy this house and you don't get an appraisal, but now you're transferred and you've only had it 6 months and you overpaid for your house?
Yeah.
So now you're in a situation where you can't sell it for how much you paid for it because you paid more than it was worth in the market. But it's just a good peace of mind. It's a just good way to make sure that a huge investment is being taken care of financially.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Which I will touch on number 3. Relatively, like a pro, is relatively low cost at the end of the day. Can also be a con, but at the end of the day, it's.
Well, again, $500 is real money.
It is.
Government, I am not telling you all appraisals are worth $500.
Absolutely.
That's not the price of appraisals.
Yeah, but
it's
rough estimate.
Rough estimate. Yeah. So $500, to secure a $500,000 investment, it just makes good financial. But again, $500 is real money.
Absolutely.
You can do a lot with that money. You can go out to dinner and.
We were literally just talking before this. Number 4 is negotiation power.
Yeah, it's true. You could go in, no contingencies, and you'll be in a lot better position. If you have cash to purchase it, it might not be a bad idea to go in and not have an appraisal done if it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
And then when the interest rates gets a little lower and you need to refinance, go in and do it.
You can.
The key thing about understanding appraisal and when you need it is if it's important to you.
Absolutely.
Well, number one, if you're getting a loan on it, like we discussed in the other one,
it's
not up to you.
It doesn't matter.
But if you have a situation where you are granted a waiver and then it might be okay if it's not important to you to not get an appraisal. It's like, what's the point of doing it if it's irrelevant to you and you're going to be, let's say for instance you find your dream home and you build it and it's 20 years, you're going to be in that house 20 years. Do you care what it's worth today? You don't.
Probably not.
We've already discussed it in the first one we did. It's today that matters. So if in 20 years it won't matter, today is irrelevant to you as well, even if you are overpaying for your house.
Absolutely.
So not all cases are. Let's say, for instance, you have a family member that left you a house and it's in a different state that you know nothing about. I would say it'd be important to get an appraisal then, even at $500, so that you can understand a market you're unfamiliar with. So I'm not a guy, I'm an appraiser, I do this for a living. I believe in appraisals.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's not all the time do you need it. Sometimes you're not. In fact, several times, this is gonna blow some people's mind right here. You ready? I've had real estate agents asked me to appraise a unique property and the subjectivity is so high, I said, I can't help you because the market's going to tell you, because it's one buyer that's going to like this house. Let's say a house so unique.
Yep. We were talking about that 160 something
exactly
acre plot where it's like,
and not only that, you get into some levels where of price that not everyone can afford houses. So the pool is already smaller. So what's the difference in somebody that really likes a house that the mama says, guess what, I want this house? $100,000 is not that big a deal to them.
Yep.
So if I'm $100,000 one way or the other, You know,
especially cash situations.
It's irrelevant, is what I'm saying in certain circumstances. You know,
Yep.
but most cases it's very relevant. Most cases $500 is a good investment.
Absolutely.
In most cases you probably want to do it, but
Absolutely.
there are cases that it's cool.
Yep.
And I'm okay with that.
I was about to say, in majority of the cases, it's going to be done if you're borrowing money regardless. So
if you're smart and educated, yeah. I mean, but like I said, I've run across people that, you know, ask me to do stuff, and I'm like, you don't need this.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not here just to collect $500 checks.
Yep.
I'm here to help people out. I'm here.
I think on the flip side too, there's a lot of for sale by owners where you may be saving that buyer a lot, which I was thinking negotiations. On the flip side of that, the buyer getting an appraisal that's going to save them $10,000, $12,000, whatever it may be when it comes to renegotiating.
Yeah.
That's something that is a pro as well.
100%.
I've had that happen throughout a deal where we've literally saved them $3, $4, $5,000 just because we came down and met them. You know, so.
Here's the thing about for sale by owners too is like, you know, a lot of people don't want to pay a realtor the three or what. Now again, I'm not colluding.
Yeah,
whatever
I was about to say, whatever it is,
whatever the
you
percentage
negotiate.
is, right? Whatever you negotiate, but they don't want to pay them that. Yet they'll underprice their house by $30,000 because they don't know any different, or they looked at one of the online sources that aren't very reliable.
Yep.
You know, so why not pay an appraiser on the front side $500 to get an accurate
reading of what you're owning.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing on the buyer side.
You already know what it's going to appraise for.
Yeah, exactly. So just being smart and being educated, and you know, it's like I always say, you know, you could go search the cheapest brain surgery if you need brain surgeon on there, but is that where you want to go with things? I don't want the cheapest brain surgeon. I want the guy that knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
You know, same thing with an appraiser in valuing your house.
Yep.
You know, I want local trusted sources, good real estate agents, good appraisers, good attorneys, all that stuff. And unfortunately, those things cost money, but
absolutely,
but
they're worth it at the end of the day.
That's what I think.
To a lot of people. So
I'm gonna give you guys a piece of advice: never buy the cheapest stuff.
Yeah, facts.
Save for the good stuff and buy the best stuff.
Once.
You want to buy it once.
Yep.
You want to buy it more than once. Yep.
Which, so touching on that last part, and then we'll touch on a couple cons. Are the sellers able to pick their appraiser?
In a bank scenario, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go into a lender and you say, I want to buy a house, and they say, you know, okay, cool, you need an appraisal, you have zero to say about it. You do have a say as a borrower who you use as a bank or a lender, and they have their own appraisers. So if you know a guy is on one and you want to use that lender, you can, but you can't pick, hey, I want to use this guy, they won't take it.
Gotcha.
Now if you need one for a different, like if you've got a cash deal and you still want to know what if you're overpaying or not, you can choose your own appraiser 100%. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or an estate or a probate or divorce or any of that kind of stuff, you can pick whoever you want.
Okay.
Yep.
Or if a seller wanted to, before they listed their home, get an appraisal on their home, they
Smart.
can hit you.
You know what else it does? It takes the pressure off of you.
The real estate.
You know,
you know what it's worth.
I love being a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, the homeowner's like, no, it's worth 500. And you're like, no, it's worth 425. And you're like, no, it's 500. And I come in and I say, guess what? It's worth 425.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm out.
I didn't even say nothing.
This guy said, I didn't even say nothing.
Yeah, literally. You scheduled it. So.
Exactly. So I do those all the time.
So I know that's and that's definitely been picking up a lot more here in Greenville, a lot more cash offers and stuff like that. So all right, cool. Now we're gonna touch on a couple cons. Yeah, let's hop right into it. I know we went over a few before. Yeah, let's talk about them.
$500 is a lot of money.
It is. I was about to say, especially when you're you're already under contract. You're probably saving up for something else. You got closing costs.
Well, buying a house ain't cheap.
It's not.
And you need to have money in the bank, and sometimes that $500 can go for a new sofa.
Yep.
And if the bank says you don't need an appraisal, then $500 is probably something you don't need to spend. But again, I go back to the point: do you want to know, or do you want to figure it out? Depending on your life circumstances. So it could be a con, but in my life experience, and it's 53 years on this earth, I'd rather do my due diligence and do things the right way and pay for it than to worry about the consequences of that afterwards and getting, holding the bag.
Yeah, way more than $500.
Way more.
Whatever it may be.
And I'm not a home inspector, but I also, home inspections are vital. Because you have this huge investment, and then you're paying a guy, $300 to $500 to go look at it and tell you if there's major issues with the house.
Which you've probably picked off of max an hour and a half showing.
Yeah.
If you've been there for a long time.
I
don't do many hour and a half showings.
15 minutes sometimes. You're in and out.
Quick, but
or out of state people.
Yeah.
They don't even get to see it.
Yeah, literally.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. What's another con in your opinion of?
Well,
kind of
the
that appraisal
time
process?
issue.
is.
It's like I go back to the brain surgeon thing.
Yeah.
Do you want a guy that's going to do cheap, fast brain surgery?
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It takes a while. If you remember when we talked last, there's a process,
Yep.
and it takes about a week.
Yep.
If we're going fast to get through that whole segment of doing the inspection to the report.
Yeah.
So. 2 weeks a lot
Yeah.
of time sometimes when you're dealing with multiple offers and somebody can close in 2 weeks and you need 4 weeks because
Yep.
you need to get an appraisal done. So that can be a detriment
Yeah.
to it. But I keep harping on the same thing. Do you want to
Yeah.
do the right thing?
Absolutely. Do you want to protect your investment?
We mentioned earlier, we were talking, is like we lost that house with these buyers, but they're okay with it because they
Yeah.
understand it was
Yeah,
okay.
It was okay, yeah. It's
In
not
my
the end of the day.
experience, like people get upset sometimes when they lose houses, but inevitably they end up in the right
They
house.
found something better.
You
yeah.
just got to be patient,
Yep,
and
yep.
you just have to take your time.
Yep.
So, I know, we're talking about negatives, but I don't see any.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's not many.
Do the right, do
Yeah,
the
there's
right
not
thing.
many.
But again, you don't always need one.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. They're
yeah.
not always required.
No, my sister didn't have one on her last house.
Yeah.
Because she was.
Your sister.
Yeah.
You're an appraiser.
Yeah. She bought a house and she had a lot of money down. She had good credit and she's going to be there for the rest of her life. Doesn't
is
matter
it.
what she
Yeah.
paid for it, and the bank said it didn't matter.
Well, yeah, it's worth it to her.
Yeah, save her $500.
You mentioned it being, I know they've got the triangle of cheap, fast, and reliable.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
You
yeah.
can only pick two.
Yeah, that's right.
So if it's cheap and fast, it's probably not going to be reliable.
Probably not good.
And if it's reliable and fast, it ain't going to be cheap.
That's right.
So pick what you kind of want in that aspect. But yeah, I know as far as we kind of touched on the pros and cons. I think at the end of the day, it's not up to you if you're borrowing money. But if you are, then it is. If you aren't borrowing money, then it is kind of up to you. If you are a seller and you may want to see what the value of your home is, if that may pique your kind of what you've got equity-wise in there, maybe go get an appraiser. Maybe you've had you're going through some family issues, a divorce or something. You guys are a property. You just took a call a second ago where you guys want to see the value of that property,
Yep.
so you can see how to split it, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's that third party that gives you that market value for your home.
And honestly,
Which it's not price.
yeah, we learned that
It's not
already.
the price of the home,
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
right.
market value.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
But ironically enough, most of the times you need an appraisal, quote
Yeah.
unquote, is because somebody else is asking for it.
Absolutely.
Like for instance, a divorce, there's a lawyer asking for
Yeah.
it. Or there's some kind of issue between the two parties, or if it's an estate, the court's asking for it. Most of the time, somebody wants a professional to tell them what it's worth, and that's it. Everyone in the city can. One of the things I'm playing golf, we'll drive through a golf course community, and the guy's like, "What do you think that house is worth?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. There could be a dead guy in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could
be
smell
all
terrible.
underground.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
like
could
you
be
said, it could smell like
random
cat pee
things.
in
Yeah,
there. I don't
literally.
know. So there's a process that I have to go
Yeah.
through. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but like if you ask me what the ballpark of something is, the state says that's an appraisal because I'm a professional.
Oh, wow.
And if I tell you, I have to have a work file on it.
Wow.
So I never
Verbal, even verbal.
Verbal. That's
Dang.
considered a verbal report, and I just gave you an appraisal. So you'll never hear me do that.
Ever.
I'll never ever do it. Ever.
That's smart.
No. Yeah, cool.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, man. One random fact I want to touch on. Can you tell people about basements? I know this is a pros and cons video, but I just want to talk about basements. How do they, in South Carolina, how do they measure technically what's a basement?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you the answer to every one of those questions you've ever had.
I already know it.
You already know it? What is
Talk
it?
to me.
You listen.
It depends?
It depends. High five. It's my man right here. It depends, because I don't know, but the definition is real. I can tell you what the definition of a basement
Yeah.
is. And we use what's called ANSI standards, ANSI, and there's this particular way you measure houses. And they tell us that if 1 inch of one wall is below grade, that means there's dirt on one corner of somewhere.
Yeah.
That whole area is a basement. Now how they're valued,
Different.
it depends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a mess of different ones.
Yeah.
They could be heated and cooled and not finished. They could be finished, heated and cooled. There's a whole mess. I mean, there's some of them Freddy Krueger live in,
Yeah.
and some of them are as nice as anything you've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So you really just have to do the work on them.
Okay.
But just understand, like, that's the number one question I get from people.
Yeah.
Is when they look at their report, they're like, "Oh, that guy's dumb. He said I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house."
Yeah.
No, I said you had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath above grade house with a 2-bedroom
basement.
downstairs and a basement. You have to split them up.
Yep.
So that's one of the key
Which
things.
I was telling people, technically, you don't have to market it that way either.
No, no, it's completely different. Realtors and the whole world use terms like square footage.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we use is gross
Like
living
price
area
per foot.
above grade
Yeah.
and gross living area below grade. Now that you add them up, that gives you your total square footage.
Gotcha.
Now, not all of them are created equal value-wise,
Correct.
but that's marketing-wise. If you got a 2,000 square foot house, you got a 1,000 square foot basement, it's 3,000 square foot. Living, yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a 2,000 square foot basement, 1,000 square foot basement, or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate that. That's always been something that I've ever since I
Nobody
think
understands it
yeah,
in
no
all
one
of the
ever gets
world.
it. Yep. And when I tell them, I'm like, what's the? Is it an inch? You said an inch, right?
1 inch, one
inch.
wall.
Yeah, 1 inch, one wall. And I'm like, I walked in the house the other day. I'm like, basement. Basement. I'm like,
They're
that's
gonna
an
argue with
inch.
you.
Yeah, they're gonna argue.
they're
like,
gonna
it's
argue
not a
with you.
basement. I'm
It
like,
is a basement.
Okay, well, we'll agree to disagree. So
According to ANSI, it's a basement,
Yeah.
and that's what Fannie Mae tells us the directive is to measure houses.
Gotcha.
So there you go.
Well, we appreciate you, man. I've enjoyed this one. I enjoyed chatting with you all the time, man. If you guys got some education from this, some knowledge, like, subscribe. Don't hesitate to reach out to Chris if you have any questions.
I love talking to you.
I was
Haven't
about to
figured it
say,
out by now.
Yeah, I love chatting with you too, man. We're just sitting on top of the rooftop at Eden, just
Greenville.
enjoying our day. Yeah, in Greenville, man.
Yeah, man.
So we appreciate you guys for being here this long. We will chat with you guys soon, and I'll see you around. Peace.